Hey, welcome to Pondering Passages. I'm Curt Austin. My friend David Mullins and I are going to be looking at Psalm 140 today. It is a song that kind of calls out for God's justice to play out on other people's lives, but it also is a reminder that we do need God's presence in our lives when we're going through hard times, when we're facing difficulties. God is there and He is listening. So join us. When we come back, we'll talk about that passage. We'll talk about the psalm itself and how it applies to us. We'll see you soon. Welcome to Pondering Passages. I am Curt Austin. We are in a winter wonderland, as you can see, and we have, because it is close to Christmas, and so we are pondering Psalm 140 today, and so we're really glad that you've joined us. I'm Curt Austin, my friend there,
David Mullins.
David Mullins is right there behind the snowman and the bunny. And we are going to talk about this passage. So as we jump into this, Dave, one of the things that I would love for you to do, and you did this last week, you had a really great insight that helped us, kind of guided us into this. And I would love it if you could take Psalm 140 and just kind of talk about what does it mean? What did it mean to you this week? And how does this apply to us?
Well, I thought we were going to discuss this together.
Well, I didn't read it, so you're going to have to carry the
You
burden.
read it. I'm sure you read it.
I read it a couple of times, but
really,
there wasn't much about this that I loved.
Well, I can see that.
I mean, I read it and was like, well, that's okay. Dave, where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
So in some ways, I'm trying to think of the previous psalm that kind of ended on an interesting note.
Yes. Yeah.
And I felt like this really flowed well from the end of that.
What are the odds that the end of the Psalm 139 actually was supposed to be the beginning of Psalm 140?
I don't know, 3%.
Nice percentage used throughout there. That's probably about right. Yeah.
Well, and 72% of all stats are made up on the spot. So you can take that.
Take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I think it felt like the stage was set at the end of Psalm 139, and that led us into Psalm 140. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I read that was an interesting take was it said people of the New Testament might have a little bit of problem with this because we are taught to turn the other cheek, to show grace and understanding and everything. But you have to realize in the mind of a psalmist, life was all they had. They did not have a well-developed theology or understanding of life after death. There was no life after death. Life was all you had it. And so the stakes were a lot different than now. I mean, we can look for justice beyond the grave. All they had was before the grave for justice. And so I think that's where a lot of, the disconnection when we read these Psalms, you have to realize these folks were really crying out to God for justice. And after the grave wouldn't do any good. So they're crying out for justice like right now. And so that might give us a little bit different context reading it.
Yeah, kind of sets it up differently. I did notice, and we've been doing this together for this presentation, the Pondering Passages, since Psalm 69. And this was the first time where interlude is written into it.
Really?
Is that correct?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
No, I think there are some others.
I thought it said Selah, S-E.
Well, yeah. They're not really sure what that means.
But this is actually interlude, and it's written several times, and it's kind of like there was like a musical section,
Yeah.
Hit it, band.
And all the other translations will probably say it's not Selma. How do you pronounce it?
Selah.
Yeah. The other translations will have that, but they think it was a musical term for an interlude, and so the New Living Translation just went ahead and put that there because at least this makes sense to English readers.
Well, so the verses 1-3, the psalmist is actually outlining or kind of giving description to how bad these people are.
Yep.
That are violent. I mean, their tongues sting like a snake, similar to what we would read in James. The power of that tongue, the venom of a viper drips from their lips. So we're talking certainly about not the trouble that they're stirring up is kind of a verbal. It's not a physical abuse in verses 1-3.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you have to realize that this guy is being persecuted in some way. Which happens. And sometimes it's what people say or say to us or say about us or accusations that are made. And sometimes when people make accusations, there really isn't any way to defend yourself. What's the old one? Hey, are you still beating your wife? And if you say no, because you never did it. Oh, you stopped.
Where are you going with that?
Yeah, well, there's some accusations is it's very hard to defend yourself, and I kind of think that's where he was.
We've talked about. Boy, I wish I was able to make my voice go higher than what it just did there. We have talked about. This in the context of two men in their 50s. But, if you're a junior high kid and you're kind of being picked on just for how you look or how you speak or how you dress, this could, this is a reality for people who get bullied all the time.
I think that could be a very good application. Because we don't just get bullied as junior high students. Some people get bullied at work by their bosses or other colleagues.
I told you about the guy, the owner of that company that came and was doing some work. The company was doing work on their house, and the owner came, and I don't know why he felt it was important to show me that they had some guy in the warehouse who was terrified of clowns. And so they had one of the workers dress up as a clown and chase him around the warehouse. To the point where he fell down and was just crawling to get away from this clown. And they'd done video of it. And so this owner is showing me the video of it. And he thinks it's hilarious. And I thought, this is horrendous.
Yeah.
This abuse that this man is saying. And I actually asked him, I said, you have a fund set aside just for the counseling that you're going to have to pay for this guy? I said, because I think he's got a lawsuit against you. I mean, that's just horrendous that they would do something like that.
And you bring that up, he's got a lawsuit. And in our culture, but in the psalmist culture, maybe not.
Yeah.
So instead of going to the court, he goes to the true judge, the court of heaven. And so, he's saying, rescue me, from these folks. They're plotting evil in their hearts. Their tongues sting like a snake. Keep me out of the hands of the wicked, from those who are violent. They're plotting against me. The proud have set a trap to catch me. They've stretched out a net. They have placed traps all along the way. So right here, he gets to what he is experiencing. We don't know what the trap is. Don't know what the net is. Don't know how they're trying to catch him. Or
interlude.
Let's just wait. Let's just pause and let's just think about this.
Here. Interlude.
There we go. So what else on this? Or are we ready to jump to
Keep moving.
All right.
So I like this. There's another passage, boy, and I wish I was a better biblical student, a better biblical scholar. We all wish that Curt was a better biblical. And what is it? The Lord said to my Lord,
"Oh yeah,
sit at my right hand." Right, and I really felt like that. This was similar to this. I said to the Lord, "You are my God. Listen, O Lord, to my cries for mercy." And I felt like it was kind of he's starting by saying, "O Lord, rescue me."
Yeah.
Right. So he starts with verse 1 of actually speaking to God. And by verse 6, it's kind of shifted to be like telling a story. But I wonder if he isn't also still speaking to God. God, I said to you, right? You are my God. Listen, God, and kind of a reminder to the Lord of this is the conversation you and I have already had. That could be wrong, but when I read it, that's what I heard.
Yeah, he knows that he can go to God because in verse 7, the strong one who rescued me, you protected me on the day of battle. But you know what? That wasn't the end of it.
Yeah.
That battle, it wasn't the war, it was the battle. You protected me before. I'm coming back to you because I know I can trust you, because I know you are faithful. Don't let evil people have their way. Do not let their evil schemes succeed, or they will become proud, which is interesting because he, in verse 5, says, the proud have set a trap to catch me.
Yes. Yeah.
And he knows that if evil people have their way, they will become even more proud, and really think that nothing can touch them. Isn't that what happens when people get away with things?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Golden.
So I'm hesitant to tell this story, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway because I'm sure the Halstead twins are not listening to Pondering. Passages.
They might be. You have to change the name.
No, I'm going to keep it in there. The Halstead twins. For whatever reason, I was a skinny little guy, and I can remember in gym class, we're getting dressed, and it got really quiet in the locker room. We were getting dressed to go out into the gym, and just like suddenly it was just stillness. And I turned around, and they had a lighter to my underwear. They were trying to catch my pants on fire, which I wasn't a liar. I don't know why my pants were going to catch on fire.
If you were a liar,
but they were laughing, and it was really fun. And since then we've grown up. We're not teenagers anymore, and so even by the end of, and I'm still connected to their sister, and it was a very small school, and so it's their kids being kids kind of a thing where we grew out of that. It wasn't like it tarnished me forever from the Halstead twins, but
I don't know.
I just remember my underwear almost catching on fire because of it. But
that would be an evil scheme, I would say.
That was a net. And then at the end of verse 8, we hear interlude.
Yes. Yeah.
I like this idea of this interlude. We should have more of those in the Psalms. That's the last interlude, folks. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's too bad. Maybe we can do one with just interlude. No psalm, just interlude. So we head to the end of this, and he actually goes through what he's asking for.
Yeah, he it's like he's just set the stage in verses 1 through 8 of, this is kind of what's happening, God. This is kind of a problem. I don't know who to turn to other than you. Oh.
Yep. So here's what I'm asking you to do. All right? Let them be destroyed by the very evil they plan for me. See, and this happens a lot in the scripture. There's especially the Psalms, there's, let them fall into the pit they've dug for me. Let them be caught by the trap that they've laid for me. It's and it's really something that we even bask in. I mean, there are movies where the evil guy sets up some plan. I'm thinking of a cartoon now where, the evil guy sets up some trap. Oh, Roadrunner.
That's what I was just thinking. Coyote.
Yeah, Coyote. And it's kind of like he sets this elaborate plan to get the Roadrunner, but he's the one that ends up getting caught in the trap.
Yeah.
And that has biblical background. I don't know, when we're watching cartoons, if we knew that we're actually learning, some theology, at least from the Old Testament. And that's where the New Testament folks have issues. Because
yes,
we are called we're to pray for our enemies. And I've heard some people say, Lord, bless them in the same way that they've blessed me. Oh, and he continues on, let burning coals fall down on their heads. Let them be thrown into the fire or into watery pits, which they can't escape. So either
Oh my
fire or
gosh.
water, one of the two, kind of opposites. Don't let liars prosper here on our land. Catch their underwear on. Oh no, that's not. So and so that's his prayer.
It is a prayer of violence. It's not just a prayer of rescue me. It's a prayer of bring violence on them.
But trying to stand up for him, his hope is that if their plans succeed, they're going to become more proud or even emboldened. So if their plan falls on them, they won't be proud, they won't be emboldened. So, in some ways you could say, this is important, God, so they don't continue doing this, not just to me, but to others as well.
Right. Well, and then in verses 12 and 13, then he circles back around to say the reason why this is important, that this kind of justice is dealt out, is because it will remind me, and it will remind everyone else, Lord, that you help those that these people persecute.
Right.
You give justice to the poor.
And once again, there's a cry for justice.
Yeah. And again, probably poor in spirit, poor in, that are living in a difficult life, not just a financial.
And I would say probably in this culture, he's probably really talking about the poor.
I think so. Just that it's actually a financial thing.
Yeah. Even in Luke, people believe when Jesus talked about the poor, he meant the literal poor, because those are the folks who are listening to him. Because the poor have no other recourse. The rich do.
That's true.
Poor, and what I've defined poor as those without resource. So, whether it's financial or other, there's no one to stand up for them. And that's why it was so important that justice reign, because without God and without justice, the poor, they had no one to go to. They were just out.
So in verse 13, then, surely righteous people are praising your name. The godly will live in your presence. Is that a contrast to the poor, godly, or is that an extension of people? The poor who receive justice then are actually the godly?
I don't know. It could be a completely different thought. Righteous people, he's including himself, I'm sure, as the righteous, are praising your name. The godly will live in your presence. And really, living in God's presence might be another way to look at being rich. So there you go.
Well, it's interesting psalm, and I think we're going to see a couple more just like this. 141, 142 are of a similar vein of calling out for help, seeking retribution. So it'll continue. Maybe between now and a few weeks from now, we'll have some great insight that'll draw them all together, which has happened more than once as we've talked about these.
Yeah.
That where we have that insight. So
but this one was a little hard to get into, and I think part of it is with the New Testament talking so much about turning the other cheek and about praying for your enemies and stuff. It's really hard for us to comprehend what it might be like if all we had was just this life, and there was no other option for justice. This is it. So,
well, Dave, thanks for taking the time.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be on this journey with you. It really does help. I look forward to our times getting together and chatting about pondering, not chatting, but pondering the Psalms.
Well, and so for those of you who maybe have stumbled into this, we do this every week. We read through a psalm every day, and then we get together and we talk about it. And so we would love for you to join us on this journey We've been doing this since we started with Psalm 69, and we'll make our way through all of them by the time we're all said and done. And follow us. Click like, follow, make a statement, make a comment, be a part of the conversation.
No one's following me.
No, well, that's good. I'm glad.
Well, no, we want people to follow us.
If you walk down the street, suddenly somebody's behind you. Just assume they've seen Pondering Passages and this edition. We have lots of opportunities to follow along: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube here, and so do that. Be a part of the community. We look forward to it, and we will look forward to talking to you again about a week from now.
When you're talking about following, I don't know if I ever shared with you my one, what was it? The time when I felt almost like a celebrity.
No, what?
We were walking a mall. I was with a girlfriend, and someone recognized me and said, "You're in that band Burgundy Royal, aren't you?" Yeah.
That was the name of your band, was Burgundy Royal?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I am that person. So really impressed the girlfriend, but it only happened once.
Well, that's the learning, is you hire people to do that. Hey, I'm going to be on the mall at Thursday.
Oh, yes.
Just perfect strangers. I'll give you a 10 spot if you come up and recognize me.